what we did, you know what, actually, I think it's 7:08. We're 8 minutes into it. I'm going to go ahead and actually start the meeting officially.
Okay.
Unclick my little button. Here's the one I'm looking for. There I am.
Oh, okay.
Got the haircut just this morning, so I look
Did you get
fresh
another
and clean.
haircut? You could have used that on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, it was hot. You know how silly I am. I walked around that whole park at one point before most of the crowd got there with my little hat that had the ice on inside of it. Look, I'm wearing a hat with ice in it. People like, okay, Scott, you're cool, whatever. All right, where are we? As usual, this is a meeting, an informational learning meeting. This is not a marketplace for cannabis or cannabis accessories. Welcome to our guest tonight. I am going to start, as we usually do, with our federal legislation section. And I'm just doing things a little differently this evening. I don't know why it's taken me so long to realize that the NORML national website, NORML.org, the Nationals website, is a huge resource for us. And it's an ever-changing legislative process, or not necessarily process, but a landscape. I had talked to Paul Armentano, our political advisor, political director out there at one time. I said, what's the best way for me to know what's going on now, besides the emails that I get behind the scenes from them? Because some of the meetings and some of the behind the scenes emails that we get from National he may say some things there that are more opinion than fact, and it's or maybe thought process things, and it's not things that necessarily we want to disseminate out into the public at this point, because it might not be percolated through properly or whatever the case may be. And their blog is a great place to go, and they do Paul does, I think it's, I don't know if it's weekly or monthly legislative update. And the problem with me, sometimes I get just influxed with so much information, so many different emails, so many sources, even the stuff from NORML. I get things that I kind of just don't look at. And but what I did find is, if you go to their site, right on from the home page here, go to their, oh, 24.3, let's make sure I'm going from the right area. There we go. From their homepage, I think it is depending on what type of device you're looking at, there's a home button right next to it. There's a button that says Action Center. And if you click on into the Action Center, up at the top, federal priorities, and it talks about what the federal priorities are. I'm actually going to scroll down past that. There's a map of the U.S. You can click on your state, find out what's going on locally. South Carolina, 8 bills. When I clicked on that, a hemp bill passed. 7 other bills are marked as dead. They will all be, whatever may or may not be reintroduced in 2020. Scrolling down there toward the bottom, just before other, the federal efforts, and that's where you have your list of the different bills that are active in the federal level right now. Not too long ago, the MORE Act was one that was shared, posted, and we got some comments from some of our followers, or at least one of them going, oh geez, another medical bill. Why don't they do something with some of the bills that are out there already? Come on, what's this? Just looking for votes. This person sponsored it and co-sponsored it instead of that person. Blah blah blah. And you know, I feel their pain. A lot of these bills, they address different things. They are all based on marijuana. There's one that's descheduling, one that's rescheduling. Some of them address expungement, banking, a lot of different areas. But the biggest problem is, are any of them going to go anywhere? I just happened to see a number, and I think it's pretty accurate. It was either 131, 121, 131 bills waiting to be voted on that Mitch McConnell is blocking from going anywhere. You know, Mitch McConnell's the gatekeeper on what legislation goes where. He says, oh, I don't think the president's going to support that. And so then it just doesn't go anywhere. And of course, here in South Carolina, Senator Lindsey Graham is also one of the big three opponents, blockades to moving any legislation anywhere. As far as marijuana goes, he's definitely one of the big three. I don't know if we could ever change his heart or just get him voted out and get him replaced. But that's kind of what's going on with any and all of that legislation. We could go into more detail on all the 7 separate bills that are out there at the federal level. But until we can get our own senators to get on board and support, and with that said, I know that Joe Cunningham had a booth at Pride Fest. I didn't visit the booth. And I didn't see Joe this year. I saw him last year when we were at Pride. I actually gave him a book, the book that's Marijuana is Safer, Why Are They Driving Us to Drink? I know I've received correspondence from him saying that he does support positive movement, but I don't, and what I was hoping to do is actually talk to him on Saturday if he was there, to ask him directly, because I haven't looked if he has signed on yet with the Cannabis Caucus or if he has co-sponsored any of the legislation that's out there. My internet connection is unstable according to my computer. Yeah, well, not the only one. Who else was there? There was a lot of other booths for candidates, but since it isn't actually the election year, I didn't see any state level candidates or federal level candidates there. We did have a mayoral candidate come and stop by our booth, chit chat with us for a little while. Definitely would be a supporter as far as decriminalization here in the city of Charleston, if that would be the case. But anyway, back to federal level. Overall, I'm just going to real quick run down not really what the acts are, but what they kind of cover in the federal efforts. There's the reparative justice. There's Support Marijuana Justice Act. There's the newest descheduling bill. There's the Regulate Nationally. There's the Protect Employment. There's a Veterans Medical. There's Protect the Progress, which is protecting what states have already done. There's a medical legislation to protect medical patients, and there's a Protect Students, the Simplify Financial Aid for Students Act. There is, actually that's kind of new to me, but there must be some cannabis wording in there, because as you and I know, if a student is found or known to be a cannabis consumer, it can affect their student aid. State level, as I mentioned, I go up here to the little map, click on South Carolina, and it is going to tell me that all the bills are dead because they are out of session at the moment. They will not resume session until January. And actually, I thought they would all say pending just because we're a 2-year house. But when I clicked on it, it kind of made me smile. They're all dead. They all need work. I mean, I've seen people posting recently that we need to start addressing the Compassionate Care Act that's out there. Don't water it down anymore. Don't make it any weaker. Things like that. But there's really a lot wrong with that, and I'd like to see new legislation written, or I'd like assistance in drafting amendments to the bill as it is. and see if we can get them to utilize or favor any of our amendments. So that's basically state level. Locally here, Charleston, as you all know, we were running our Decriminalize Charleston petition, decriminalize James Island, decriminalize Folly Beach. I knew we weren't getting the numbers. I just don't have enough people out there collecting with me, especially across the entire scattered city of Charleston. So we didn't have the numbers by the deadline. It's one of those things that if you don't get there, it kind of washes clean. You have to start all over again. And so that's what we'll do. We can't do anything until after November 5th. At that point, they'll know, I guess, how many registered voters were registered voters as of that date. As a matter of fact, I believe, what did I hear on over the weekend? I think it was the Young Democrats or somebody was doing voter registration at Pride Fest, and they were talking about registering younger voters, people that won't be old enough to. They will be old enough to vote on election day, but maybe they're under a voting age right now, and they can register now to vote if their birthday falls on or before election day. So if you know any young people out there, 17 and a half-ish, make sure they get out there and vote. Otherwise, for us, I thought a lot of our meeting about local would be about how Pride Fest went. Karen was there with me for part of it, Pam. I don't know if you've ever been to a Pride Festival. This is NORML's third time there here in Charleston. Me as an old white guy, it was a learning experience to be sure. But the thing I realize about a lot of it is this event has nothing to do with me. And my purpose there is to talk about cannabis. So all the other stuff to me is just kind of a blur, but the energy at these things are so much fun, that I don't know, we're just really enjoying participating. I was sick as a dog last week. I finally felt well enough on Friday to get to the park and set up our tents. And sluggishly Saturday morning, work through my exhaustion to get the rest of the display and stuff set up for our booth, and lasted through to the 3 o'clock end and tore it all down. And I think drove my butt home at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But the energy of the event day itself, I think, kept me going through the day, just because there's that much energy. There's a lot of good positive vibes. There's some other vendors I know that. It's nice to see some of these other vendors out and just supporting social justice causes. And like I said, I don't think I would have ever had the experience had I not got involved in cannabis advocacy. But it is definitely a fun venue to participate in. Going forward, our next planned venue, as far as one that size, a big event like that, is the Charleston Victory Cup and Hot Air Balloon event. Let me find it quick. There we go. That's November 5th, 15th, 16th. Where's the Charleston one? There it is, 15th, 16th. That's over at Johns Island County Park. The one last year was at a horse farm somewhere. So it'll be interesting to see how they set it up at the park. I know Johns Island County Park has riding areas and all that stuff, so it should be pretty neat. If you go to Victory Cup and click on the Charleston area on your website, you'll see the sponsor list up at the top. There's a pretty good list of sponsors. It's a charitable event. Purple Heart Homes is one that gets really promoted there, housing for vets. And it's nice to see Lowcountry NORML down on the vendor list down below. Immortal Lobster is going to be there, which is what I really, of course, enjoy. Our friends Roadie Rolls, who were there on Saturday, will also be at this event. But that's a good time. They have a day and a half schedule starting on, let me scroll up, see if I can find the schedule portion of it. Schedule. Basically, we'll be set up on Friday afternoon. I'm guessing we'll get there probably like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, start getting everything set up and settled in, unless there's a Friday setup to do some of it. The event itself starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and goes through 8. So that's a Friday night. The gates open up. They have hot air balloons. There's some of them tethered to the ground, and they will do like little balloon rides with these tethered balloons. And of course, that is contingent on the weather. Of course, it's raining, winding, something like that, and they can't get them out. They'll also then do a balloon glow as the sun, I guess, is coming up. They'll burn them, light them up, make them kind of glow in the dark in the early hours. Should be real pretty, especially if you have a camera, or a bit of a photographer. And so that is Friday night. Fun event. There's stuff for the kids that goes on at this thing. It's pretty high-end, hoity-toity kind of event. A lot of Southern gentlemen and Southern ladies strutting around. We'll scroll down here. Maybe come out, as they put it, come on out for a little tethered balloon ride or a casual meal from one of the vendors. And again, they start the same thing up again in the Saturday morning, 7 a.m. So we will be back there bright and early, about 6:30. Again, make sure that our booth is all ready to go. And it's 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 a.m. So if there's any time during that, you all can kind of schedule to come along and hang out and chat with people. I'd appreciate it. They kind of break down what goes on through some of the day. Again, the balloon rides and the morning balloon inflation. I don't think they do a glow in the morning because it's too bright. 10 a.m. they bring more the balloon activities in. There we go. And I believe they start preparing to get the field ready for the Golden Mallet VIP and Founders Lounge attendees can now enter their VIP pass areas at 11 a.m. Ooh, yeah. Music by local artists will begin in various tented areas. Alcohol tastings for VIPs becomes available until 1. So if people got their VIP passes, they can go into there. First polo match starts 11 to 2. More about alcohol. More about alcohol, tasting areas. Oh, there's a casual lunch for VIPs. Ceremonial first balls thrown out at 1 p.m. 2:30 to 3, the divots stomp on the polo field to stomp back the divots after play. And then through the evening again, there's a third Victory Cup match, and the 4 o'clock it looks like the balloons come back out again for the evening. Pig roast, and I'm just guessing at some of this stuff, and a hot air balloon glow again at night somewhere between 4 and 8. So that's a pretty big long day for us. And of course, we want to do similarly to what we did at Pride. We don't have that same activity level, and some of the time we will be probably doing a lot of nothing because it's so very stretched out. But now, Pam, you weren't there with us on Saturday, and one of the biggest things that I felt we did, I don't know if you can see me on video or not, but here's a copy of our trifold brochure.
Yep.
Okay. And inside our trifold brochure on this side is what's known as the NORML Foundation's Freedom Card. And on the top part explains what it is. And then the bottom part, we ask people to cut this out along the dotted line and keep it with your driver's license. It basically explains your rights on what to do if you're ever stopped by a law enforcement officer, and what your rights are as far as the Constitution of the United States and Miranda rights and that type of thing. So I don't care really what anybody does with the rest of the brochure after it. Well, I kind of care because, you know, I'm eco-friendly and all that stuff too. But really, I'm trying to get this into everybody's hands, in anybody's pocket, right next to their ID, everybody that I can, just to educate them on what their rights are. Because the most dangerous thing I think people do when they're in a situation where they're confronted by a law enforcement officer is they talk. They open their mouth, and that's the wrong thing to do. Without an attorney present, we do not think that's a real good idea. And so this is kind of helpful in educating with that and passing that card along to the law enforcement officer, letting them know that you know, not consenting to a search, I don't answer questions, that kind of thing. It keeps people safe. It was sort of interesting, some of the reactions I would get as I was trying to give out the brochures over the week on Saturday. I would see a group of 2 or 3 people come, and I would grab 2 or 3 of them, and I'd get them all up in my hand, and I'd start to hand them out to each one. And every now and again, like, someone in the group would say, "Oh, we can share one. That's okay." I'm like, here's why I'd like you each to have one. Like, the one example was, it was a mom, a young daughter, and I think it was a young son. I'm not completely connecting, but I think it was. And so as I start to hand them each a brochure, mom's like, "Oh, that's okay. You know, I'll just take one." And I open it up and I explain, here's why I'd like everybody to have one of them. You know, we ask everybody to read the top, cut out the bottom, keep it with your driver's license, explains what you need to do, what your rights are when you're ever confronted by a law enforcement officer. She goes, "Oh, absolutely, I want them each to have one." So that put a big smile on my face, that mom understood the importance of having those and having your children understand their rights when they're confronted. I'm sure, well, the other thing that we did, of course, follow up on that, I give everybody a free sticker. And that, to me, I think I mentioned, our web address is on it, just to try and get connection. I did see pretty good activity. We had about 49 new likes on our Facebook page in the past 4 or 5 days, past week, something like that. And I haven't really got a chance to look at our website activity, but that's usually pretty low. But I like it to at least give them the sticker. People enjoy stickers, and they don't cost us a lot. We did not get a whole lot in the way as far as donation to cover our cost at the event, but we did get some. And I think the information rack, we have a 8-slot information rack that has printouts of different things about cannabis, about the gateway theory, opioids and cannabis combination, and different things, psychoactive motor skills in cannabis, on and on. It's an 8-pocket one. I think we have 6 filled right now with fact sheets. There's a total of 16, so I'm probably going to get another one of these things in the future. It seemed to be pretty popular. I saw a lot of people looking at it, flipping through it, grabbing some paper out of it. I didn't do an inventory after I got home to count them up at this point, because after I got home, I just basically collapsed for a day and a half or 2, 2.5, 3, still going. But that to me was pretty successful. I think in getting that information out there, and just showing a presence, that the event overall is very successful as far as I'm concerned. Now, one of the things Karen has mentioned to me, Pam, is that we had done a double booth. It's the first time we've ever done a double booth. And the second half of the booth, wishful thinking, I was hoping to put an inflated pool there for some reason. It really would have probably been a mess. But the logistics of getting water there, I couldn't figure out, especially without it costing more money than we could afford. And it turned out better for us because we had one of the students who runs the Students for Sensible Drug Policy at the College of Charleston agreed to wear our Captain Cannabis costume and do selfie pictures and stuff in the other half of the tent while we shared information on protecting yourself and what's going on with legislatively and blah, blah, blah in our tent, in our side of the tent. And they were also handing out something very similar. They have a card that is a do not consent, know your rights type card. And so I think that was, pretty successful for that particular type of event. Now, as Karen mentioned, she and I are not spring chickens anymore, and I bring a couple of really low beach chairs just to give you a place to sit sometimes and to give a place to help her to sit sometimes. But they're not really to sit down and chat with the public, and they're not easy for us old folks to get up and out of. So we've been talking about maybe actually doing a double booth at the Victory Cup in November and setting up the second side instead of with a Captain Cannabis cartoony type character and stuff that was, worked well for the Pride Festival, and have more like just a little cannabis information lounge. Sit and have a chat around a little bistro table and, or some sort of chairs and tables that make it look comfortable. We throw a carpet down on the one side, so we probably put the carpet down on that side, make it as much of a living room, comfy space as we can. Again, barring any rainy weather in that kind of situation.
Okay.
But so yeah, we're kind of looking at maybe doing that, and I guess what I'm doing at the moment is just sort of evaluating what we've done overall, and if we want to modify our presentation at all or not. But I think we're doing pretty well. What do you think, Karen? We handled it okay?
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
it was a good day. It was fun to be there.
Nice.
I never go anywhere, so
Well,
getting me there was an achievement in and of itself.
I'm glad you made it. I don't know if you'll make it all the way down to Johns Island in November, but I hope you do at least make it for part of it. We'll try and make it more comfortable so you can stay a bit longer.
Oh.
But otherwise, that was basically chapter stuff. I see at the time we've been on for about a half hour. Upcoming future things, real quick notes is, let me get my calendar in front of me here. Last Monday of the month here on James Island, we will be participating in the Lowcountry Business Networking here at the town of James Island Town Hall, just up the street from me. The Friday night before that, so that is not this coming Friday, but next Friday, the 27th, we will be again at the town hall for the town market and movie night. The movie, geez, I don't remember what the movie is. But anyway, it's a good family event. We, of course, on these, we do just a single booth. They're lightly attended events compared to these big festival type things. But again, it keeps me out in the public around the area. So that is that. What else do we have? I am debating on my calendar for Saturday, this coming Saturday, the 21st. There is, something's telling me I'm running out of time. Oh, that's the first time I've ever seen that happen. There's an accounting for nonprofits coming up somewhere on the 21st. I think it's over on Johns Island. I think I may attend that. It's a Saturday morning thing. I've really got to get our stuff reset with the state. I did receive a certified letter from them this week, actually late last week, letting me know that we are behind on our filing. And so that's going to get moved along. So I think I may do that on the 21st. We have one more night we can go to the Folly Market prepaid. I haven't decided if we're going to try and just do it now and use it up, or I'm thinking we're getting into the holiday season. I might see if I can utilize it for a holiday market or something down there where it draws a few more people out. But we're going to probably, actually, I might talk to them about just saving it until next spring when they start up again. And we're starting to roll with those petitions again. So actually, that's probably a better idea. Anyway, this thing tells me we're ticking out of time. If any of you want to chat a little bit more, I know Pam, I told you I'd get a hold of you at the end of the month as your schedule changed and everything kind of fell apart for me from there. So reach out to me if you get reach out to me if you get a chance.
Okay.
And I'm going to kind of end this for us for now. All righty. Thank you all
Okay.
for coming.
All right.
Have a
Bye.
good
Have a
day.
good night.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.